it going, everybody? Welcome to the channel. This is Big Day Dave, and this is another Farm Sim Talk show where we get to have interviews with other creators within the Farm Sim community. How's it going? I hope everybody's having a fantastic day so far. I am really excited about tonight's show because this is a connection that has been long overdue, and I cannot be happier about it. So tonight I am joined by fellow YouTuber RamboHacker Gaming. Rambo, how are you doing tonight?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Thank you for asking. So, how about you give us some of the places where we can find you at?
Oh, that's actually a very good question. So yes, I am on one thing I kind of totally forgot about. Yes, I'm on YouTube, primarily exclusively on YouTube, although I am going to be starting doing more cross-platform lives on over on Twitch as well. I have created a channel, but I have not done anything yet. And so yeah, pretty much RamboHacker Gaming is my main channel, although I am, as you can see, my alternate personality in the chat there, RHD Farming Simulator. I am actually in the process of starting a new channel to focus exclusively on Farming Simulator stuff because I'm kind of play other games as well. So yeah, that's pretty much where to find me.
Excellent. And you want to give any shout outs before we get going?
Um, yeah, actually, yeah, I'm gonna give a shout out to the who I like to call the real squad. Um, one of them I'm ignoring in the chat because he's kind of weird. But yeah, so LFG Dad or L Family Gaming Dad, also the Herd, Auto Sim Crew, and Farm Sim Universe. We're kind of like our uh, little squad, I guess you could say, of guys. We hang out together, we chat pretty much daily, encourage each other, bounce ideas off each other, and just kind of yeah, help make each other better,
That's
which I think they've all
fantastic.
said before too when they were on here.
No, absolutely. No, that's fantastic. So let's go ahead and get started with our first segment. This one's called Digging Up Dirt. This is a segment where we get to know you more for who you are as a person rather than the person who are behind the camera. So let's go ahead and start out. Is YouTube your main career, or do you do something outside of it?
um I would say it's a hobby. um so primarily work, full-time job, which can be anywhere. Well, hey, on a slow week it's maybe 40-50 hours. Most week it's about 60-70 hours. um so that's pretty much the career that pays for the hobbies, and one of those happens to be making videos on YouTube, which I kind of more just started for fun because like I enjoy playing games, I enjoy watching other content creators, so I was like, I'm gonna try it out. So yeah, it's just that's kind of the background there on that one.
I gotcha. And was there somebody in particular that kind of inspired you to get into the space?
Yeah, actually. Um, I gotta stop reading chat, man. No, I don't have vampire veins. So yeah, the first farm sim content creators I saw actually was Yellow Tractor. He does time lapse. I don't think he's doing videos anymore, but for a long time he did like time lapse videos. They were actually really good. He did a lot of them on No Man's Land, just like doing like starting with nothing and building up a farm to like this really big farm. Really enjoyed those. Another one, which you probably have not heard of, is Rockland USA. He does a lot of American Truck Simulator, but also does Farming Simulator. But I'd say the two that probably inspired me the most was Mighty Mike Farms and Scroft.
I gotcha. And what would you consider some of your hobbies to be
Uh, so
outside of
I
the
would,
farm sim community? That is.
well, uh, I would say I do have some hobbies outside of farm sim community, although my main hobby is farming simulator, but I do take breaks from time to time. But like Farming Simulator 22, I think altogether I put almost 4,000 hours in that game. So that was one of my primary hobbies. And I've got like I think 700 or 800 hours in FS25 so far. Um, but I'd say outside of Farm Sim, kind of not really known is that my probably most primary hobby is I do a lot of audio editing, and I make like music and things like that. Um, I like write, edit, and arrange music and stuff like that as well.
Okay. Is there anything that you've done that we might know of?
No, no, it's more of just for me. It's a hobby. It's a me hobby.
I gotcha. I gotcha. And excuse me, are you into sports at all?
I watch it sometimes.
Uh,
um,
which ones in particular?
Sometimes, well, not as much nowadays, but sometimes I do like pretty much football. Um, I do like golfing sometimes, but that became a very expensive hobby, and I've kind of spent less and less time on it because it keeps getting more and more expensive.
Oh yeah, especially if you're playing through and losing your ball everywhere like I do.
Yep.
You can
Well,
go
especially,
through quite a bit of money really quick in balls.
yeah, especially like if you also like me and you're 6'4", and which means you just don't go to the store and buy standard clubs. You have to usually get custom clubs, and it is a very expensive endeavor.
Yes, I completely understand. I'm 6'3" myself, and yeah, it's definitely not cheap to get your own custom made clubs and whatnot. Now I have found a few places where it's a bit cheaper, but you're certainly getting what you pay for. But if it's just a hobby or something like that, it's not a bad way to go. But let's see. What kind of you mentioned football earlier? What team do you follow?
Um, I for the most part, I live in the Pacific Northwest, so by default that requires I be a Seahawks fan. And I am a Seahawks fan, although I was more of a Pete Carroll fan, and I was also a Russell Wilson fan. They both left, so I'm not as much of a Seahawks fan nowadays. So I would say my current favorite teams are probably, well, I'm a big Carroll fan, so I guess I like the Raiders. A lot of my family is heavily a Broncos, Raiders, and Pittsburgh Steelers. So I kind of like to play Sweden and kind of like all three of those teams because I don't know I want to get in the middle because it's a very aggressive argument between my two brothers because they're Raiders and Bronco fans,
Ooh.
and it gets very very intense sometimes.
A house divided.
Yes.
Trust me, I get it. I've had family who, as a matter of fact, if you follow college football at all, I have a cousin who he's a big Michigan State fan, and his son is a Ohio State fan. I don't know how that
Ooh.
happened. It just
Ooh.
it happened, and it's wild. It's wild. So
That's wow. Yeah, that my I didn't have to deal with that, like, but my niece did go to Ohio State. So I'm very familiar with that rivalry.
I mean, it's almost as big as the Michigan and Ohio State, but yeah, no, for some, to this day, and he still can't explain it to me because I've asked him several times, like, how did this happen? Because my cousin, he's a diehard Michigan State fan, has been his whole life, but for some reason, his oldest son is a Ohio State fan, and to this day is yet to be able to tell me why. So, Do you do any reading?
Um, Not so much nowadays. No, I do occasionally, but for the most part, I I get really into a book if I start reading it. I'm a huge fan of the well, like kind of like the Tom Clancy and Clive Cussler, like that genre of like, hey, it's fiction, but it could very well be a reality. It's close enough to reality, like it's a what if. That's kind of my favorite style. Like, hey, this could totally be a reality thing. The problem is like I if I start reading one of those books, I'm pretty much not putting it down until the book is done, which sometimes means you don't get much sleep.
I completely understand. And what about movies? Do you watch a lot of movies or
uh well, yes and no. Um, but people that know me like in my real life, like they know like I have a lot of movies. In fact, I have like a couple of bookshelves of full of DVDs from back in the day. I'm just aging myself here, and if it also have another bookshelf of Blu-rays, and I have about 600 movies I own. Because back in the day, before this thing called Netflix, you went to the store and bought movies.
Mm-hmm.
But nowadays, I really don't. I think a lot of it's just because work long hours. When I'm done with that, I like to relax to farm sim or something else, and or music, and I don't really watch a lot of movies. Um, so yeah. Although in college, man, I did watch Braveheart a lot.
Great movie. Great movie. What would you
Yeah,
consider as your favorite movie?
probably Braveheart.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, it was. I watched it so much. I can't do this anymore. But when in college, me and my roommates, we watched it a lot, and we could actually recite the lines that along with. But then we played the soundtrack, and we could recite the lines. Um,
That's awesome.
it's a little embarrassing to say, but yes, that's how much I love that movie.
And you know what? It's a fantastic movie, so I don't blame you whatsoever. And to kind of follow back up with the movie collection, I'm 41 years old, so trust me, I understand the DVDs, I understand the Blu-rays, and it got so bad that I decided, I've got so many movies, and I'm sick and tired of them always taking up so much shelf space. I'm gonna get a Plex server, and there you go. So I got
I have one of those.
so you know exactly what I'm talking about. One of
Yep.
those, gotta make it a little bit more convenient. I am my own Netflix.
Yep.
You mentioned music earlier. What kind of music are you into?
Um, well, actually, I so for listening, I like all styles. I would say my go-to listen style, as far as like genre, is soundtracks. Actually, I love them. But it's just like for some reason they really help me think and get going and focus. They're really great at that. Um, but my probably secondary genres of music is I like I'm not actually quite how that would put, but I like rock, I like country, um, I do like some R&B and other stuffs too, but I probably say like my secondary favorites are probably kind of a tie between rock, country, and Christian. And then other than that, it's just like everything else I pretty much like as well.
Gotcha.
But like for me playing music, it's primarily um I play live music for church and stuff like that, but also like classical and kind of the soundtrack style music as well.
I gotcha. And you mentioned that you play music. What instrument?
Keyboard.
Oh, nice. Okay, so you like trained on the piano for a while?
Yeah, all through high school. Well, pretty much from elementary all the way through high school, and um, Actually, I went to college. My major in college was music composition,
Hmm.
in theory, and my minor was in computer stuff, and the minor is what my job became, and my major is what my one of my hobby became.
I gotcha. No, that's fantastic. It's one of those that it's always very impressive for me to talk with somebody who is actually like musically trained and whatnot. Because unfortunately, I have no rhythm whatsoever. So being able to play a keyboard, play a guitar, whatever, just I'm basically just might as well just be like Neanderthal and just bashing it with a club or something like that. It's that foreign to me.
Well, I mean, they have a genre for like, so if you can't keep a beat and you like bashing, they call it jazz.
Okay, well, I guess I'll be the next up and comer jazz musician.
I just offended like a whole bunch of jazz musicians. Sorry.
Oh, that was a pretty good one. Bazing,
Zinga.
bazinga. There you go. So, what would you consider as to be the oddest or weirdest book, movie, or music that you've come across in your time?
Oddest, weirdest. You know, I was trying to think, but the first one that came to my mind was Snakes on a Plane. I don't know why. Um,
There's too many snakes on this plane.
but that yeah, that movie it sticks out. Whenever I think about like, what's the point of this movie? Like, why? Like, who? What?
I completely understand. Yeah, that's one that I started to watch like in passing. It was on at a friend's house, and I just so happened to take a look at it. And it's like, you know what, two out there for me.
Yeah, I went to a movie theater. That was a waste.
Oh man, so you paid money for that? Woo.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh well.
okay. So, what would you do if content creation was no longer an option for you?
Um.
And the to kind of put a emphasis on that, let's say your computer blew up or your gaming console, whatever it is, it's just like it's not available for you and it's a permanent issue.
Well, I mean, honestly, if I couldn't do content, it would not be a huge loss for me because I'd keep playing the game, just the games without doing content. Um. Um. But, so I mean, yeah, I've if my computer blew up, I'd probably just buy another computer. But like if content was out of the question, that's I would just keep having fun. So like for me, for like Farm Sim, it's just I actually play it just to relax. It's one of those games where I play it and it's just like, man, I'm relaxed when I play that game. Um, so I mean, it's yeah,
I completely understand, and that's actually kind of a running theme I've been hearing a lot doing this show. Is that most people will sit there and tell me it's an opportunity for me to kind of wind down from the day and
yeah,
be able to just kind of almost shut your brain off. And I always call it the follow the procedures. So that's what's I find personally is be very nice about it is that it's a very A to B, B to C, C to D kind of thing, to where a lot of those other games like you're it's just chaos, it's just pure chaos, like a Call of Duty or anything along those lines. You're just trying to survive or complete the objective or whatever. Do you play any other games besides Farm Sim?
yeah, yeah. I do play a few. In fact, that was a conversation I think I was having with an LFG stream recently or something like that, where I made a comment like I have a very big Steam library from of games, and including which includes about 100 games I have bought that I have not played yet.
Oh wow.
Uh, um, Actually, I do actually have some console games I are still wrapped in plastic, um, and which is funny because I haven't turned on my consoles in over a year, probably 2 years, um, which is a little embarrassing to say. But I would say like the vast majority, I do play a lot of games. I like Farmer Simulator. I do play some similar games like Snow Runner, American Truck Simulator, and a few others. But I would say like my go-to when not playing those type of games is RPGs, role-playing games. So like I love Assassin's Creed,
Great game.
um, Horizon Zero Dawn. Um, it's a PlayStation, but it came to PC. It's a PlayStation exclusive that came to PC. And also Horizon Forbidden West was the sequel to that one. It's an RPG similar to it. Well, it has a huge storyline. I don't want to spoil.
Well,
um,
was that the one that kind of the robots take over?
yeah, that's part of the story. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay.
that's the game. Yeah. Um, I also do like some strategy games like Civ 7. Love that. I've been playing the Civilization series since they first came out in the 90s. I just aged a little bit there. But yeah, like those RPG games, like if when I'm like a lot of times on the weekends, I get really into the RPG games, deep into them because it's like I like a good single player game that has a really good storyline. Because if you have a really good storyline, it just draws you in. And there's a couple of games out there like that. And of course, zombie games. I love zombie games too.
Oh yeah, yeah. No, I'm again right there with you. It's like looking in a mirror. Um, yeah, I mean, you mentioned Assassin's Creed. Love that game. Love that series. Really. I haven't had any chance to play any of the newer stuff. I think I left off at what was the one that took place in Egypt? Um,
Origins.
Origins. Thank you. Or actually, no, it wasn't Origins. It was the one after that.
Oh,
Valhalla.
Odyssey. About no, there's Origins. I think there was Odyssey, which was the Greek one. Or is the Greek one
Oh,
before? No.
no,
Yeah.
you're right. It was Origins in Egypt. Then there was Odyssey. That was the Greek one. I got through all that one, but I left off in Valhalla, and I just haven't picked it
Yeah.
up since.
I actually
But
never finished that. That was a massive game. I never actually finished it all the way, but that was a fun one though.
oh yeah,
This is massive.
well, what's great about those games is the kind of lore that's behind them. It really does a good job in kind of tying in historical events without being so driven by history. It kind of
Yeah.
bends the fabric of time almost. But
Yeah. Yeah. It's
where did your gaming quote unquote career start? What system did you start out playing?
uh oh, there's gonna be so many people that don't know what this is, but I started off on a um Atari. Well, actually, Atari and also a computer called Atom.
Hmm.
Uh, yeah, I just really dated myself there.
Well, again, I'm right there with you on the Atari. The last one I didn't recognize, but the Atari I did. Um,
Yeah, that was the Atom was a predated like PCs, and it used boy, it used tape drives, like cassette tape drives and cartridges. Um, yeah, that was welcome to the '80s, people.
oh yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I'm a child of the '80s myself, so it's one of those. Like I said, I started out on the Atari, eventually moved on to the Nintendo, and got deep into the whole Mario and Duck Hunt and
Oh yeah,
all that stuff. And as a matter of fact, I was talking to Star Spangled Mods in the last interview, and I guess he was a big Mario fan growing up, and got to kind of nerd out a little bit over the lore behind Mario and the kind of differences between them in the last stream. So that was a lot of fun.
oh yeah. That's and actually, I do have. Well, it's the one you got from Nintendo, but it's the Nintendo and Super Nintendo that has all the games on it.
The flashbacks or whatever they call them.
Yeah, yeah. It's like I mean, it has the normal size controllers from them, but it's like the console itself is like a little bit smaller, and it has
Hmm.
HDMI, which is awesome.
No, I know exactly what you're talking about. I got the same thing. So yeah, it was one of those. That was one of the first things I ended up getting is the Super Mario 2 and 3, and oh man, it was good times reliving the days of the yesteryear. So,
Yeah, that was back in the day. Oof.
hmm uh, what is something that you think that you're not very good at that others would disagree?
Uh, Making content, doing lives, talking with people. I mean, yeah, and I've it's kind of ironic because like there's a lot of I know there's a lot of people with content creators and stuff like that have said this like they hate their voice, and I'm one of those people. I hate my voice. Um, but it's also kind of funny. It's like I actually hate talking with groups of people and stuff like that, which is funny just because like my job is I'm like a director of operations, so I have tons of people under me and multiple teams and stuff like that. Like a couple hundred people, and so it's like public speaking should not be an issue in that job or in content creation.
You know,
Yeah.
it's funny that you mentioned that, but I'm the same way. I very often, if I'm in a group of people, especially if I'm not familiar with a lot of the people there, I just quiet down. I'll just sit there and kind of listen, and just, oftentimes people will come up to the side of me and be like, Everything okay?" And I'm like, "No, everything's great. I'm having a good time." And but I'm
Yeah.
just not like chatty in groups. So, and
Yeah.
a lot of people
Yeah.
find that very weird when they see the kind of person behind the camera who's sitting there doing nothing but talking.
Yeah. Well, and it's kind of funny. Like, so a lot of people don't know this about me, but I am what you would call kind of an extreme introvert, um, which an introvert means you get your energy and stuff from being alone. You don't have a problem, talking publicly and being around people. It's just like that is physically draining, being around large groups of people for me. So it's like, it's like it's just kind of funny, like when I tell people that they're like, "Really? With your job and doing content and stuff like that?" And it's like, well, actually, content creation is like a perfect medium for that, I think, personally.
I
But
100% agree. 100%.
yeah,
So,
we're
sorry, go ahead.
I'll say yeah, works great for me for that.
What kind of family dynamic do you have at home?
I am freedom to quote William Wallace, but yeah, I'm single.
I gotcha. I
Uh,
gotcha. So,
Stand back, ladies. I have a stick.
he's not afraid to use it. So, what kind of how do you come up with the balance between your work life, your home life, and your content creation life?
Um, that is um that is that's a lifelong pursuit challenge. Um, Especially in I don't want to say it's a generational theme, but it's um so my dad is what you would call well, he is I was born really late. My oldest brother is 21 years older than I am. And so my dad's from the forgotten generation, which that was way back that no one remembers that generation, just go by their name. But my dad instilled like a really heavy work ethic in all of us. So training myself to have a good work life balance is a lifelong struggle for me because I'm one of those people where if I see something needs to be done at work, I'm going to make sure it gets done. And sometimes that might mean not having a work life balance. uh, but I will say, like, the thing that has really helped me focus on that more is um, realizing as I've kind of climbed the corporate ladder is that if you want to have your people be overly productive, you need to make sure that they are not doing what I do and have a life balance because it hurts productivity a lot. Um, so like I've kind of realized that and I've been kind of forcing myself to where um, I went through actually a long period where I just actually would not work past 60 hours in a week just because I was like, I need to stop because I've already seen the science. I've seen the numbers and everything. Like, hey, after a certain amount of time, your productivity drops off. Your ability to do a contributing person just drops off a cliff. So like I've kind of focused that like, hey, I've um there's a book which I will not mention because it has a certain word in it, but it's about setting a time budget with your life. Like you have only so much time, energy, and money to give towards things. So you need to set a budget of like, hey, I only have this much time and energy to invest in these things. And some things you cannot move out of your budget, like, hey, I need to go to work. That has to be in your time and energy budget. But there are some things you can move out. And that's kind of been kind of a big eye opener for me is like just kind of writing down what are all the things I need to get done and just kind of making a plan for that. And that was a really long answer to your question. So I'm rambling on now.
Oh no, that's a great answer. Quite frankly, it's one of those where, you know, it is a struggle to find the right balance when you're doing so many different things, when you got so many balls that you're juggling, kind of thing. If you focus too much on one thing, then it's going to suffer in other ways. So
Yeah.
no, what you're saying makes total sense. Do you like to travel?
Not anymore. No. I so kind of related back to what I mentioned about my dad, where I was born later in life. Like, my parents were in their 40s when I was born. Um, they, my dad had already retired from his first career, um, and moved up from California to Washington, where he bought actually lived on a farm. I kind of grew up on a farm. We had we had a total of 300 acres, but just under 100 and let's about 160 acres of it was alfalfa fields. Rest of it was all forest. We were kind of on a hillside, but um, yeah. So I mean, it's I kind of grew up in that, but all we did was just alfalfa, but you didn't have to like really be there to do anything. It's like, hey, you took care of the grass, I mean the alfalfa, and made sure it was healthy, and then periodically you mowed it and baled it up and sold it to the. We didn't. We sold it. They came and picked it up to the local dairy farms. So it actually was not a huge time sink for us, which was kind of nice. So we traveled a lot. um, we traveled a whole lot. In fact, before my 15th birthday, I had been to every state in the country, most of the national parks, been through a lot of Canada, been to Mexico. Um, Before I was born, my parents traveled all around the world. They lived in Australia for a while, in New Zealand, Germany, and a few other countries. Um, Not militarily related, just my dad's job he worked for at the time. Um, so yeah, yeah, I am traveled out from my youth.
So, what would you consider to be your favorite destination?
Home, actually. It sounds. I mean, it sounds kind of dumb, but yeah. I mean, like when I go on vacation from work, I most of the time I don't go places. I mean, like I live on the West Coast. I'm in a absolutely horrible place called Portland, not just outside of Portland, Oregon. I mean, a wonderful place. But the one advantage I will say it has is there is a lot of really awesome touristy type places, not within driving distance of where I live. I can get to the coast pretty like in within a couple hours. I can get to like resort areas all around. There's tons of mountains and forests and trails and stuff like that. So usually when I go on vacation from work, I stay home and maybe do a couple of random day trips here and there over the coast for a day or something like that. But yeah, my favorite place, I think it has to do with being an introvert. My favorite place is home.
I gotcha. I understand that. So you mentioned earlier that you grew up on a farm. Do you think that that's where the kind of passion for farm sim came from?
I think a lot of it did. Um, and some of it did definitely. And actually, it's one of the reasons I like. It's not my favorite map, but it's like one of the maps I really enjoyed was Silver Run Forest. I'm so happy to see it in FS25 because that map is based on like the northwest, like Idaho, Washington region, and which is actually where we lived. Because I was up in the northeast corner of Washington, and it was about an hour from Idaho and an hour from Canada. Um, so it was like right in that area. Like we had the mount, all the hills, rolling hills, trees, and we had farmland in the valleys, and it looked very much like that map does. You even actually there's actually a roller coaster. There was a theme park with a roller coaster about an hour and a half from where I live called Silverwood,
Oh, wow.
which is a little ironic. I thought, like, oh, hey. um, but yeah, so I mean, I really enjoyed it. But yeah, I think it did definitely like when I started playing the game, I just fell in love with it because it kind of reminded me of that. It's also one of the reasons like Giants, please bring alfalfa to the base game because I don't understand why it's not there.
I
That's
hear you. Completely hear you there. That'd be a really good addition. So I'll go ahead and skip that question. What would you say inspires or motivates you?
um so for doing content and like it's more about just having fun. I think that's probably the most motivating factor is like I just kind of I really enjoy doing it. It's fun. Um I enjoy playing the games and I enjoy like you know chatting with the community and stuff like that. Which is why like I didn't I have actually been watching a lot more like people doing lives. I didn't actually used to watch lives a lot. And I've really gotten into that a lot just because it's really fun, like chatting with people in chat and stuff like that as live. So I think that's probably the main driver for me is like it's just out of enjoyment and also a little bit of relaxation. It's like, hey, I have fun playing video games. I enjoy it. It's like, hey, I'm taking a break from the workday, unwinding, and this is how I relax. So I'm kind of relaxing with everyone else, and that's kind of my driver for it.
I gotcha. And what's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
Um, I would say it's kind of a tie between so people that like don't really know me like really well. I'd say like the thing that surprises them most is that either I do videos on video games on YouTube and that I play music. That seems to be always like people like, wait, you do what? And you do that? What? Yeah, I would say that's definitely the things that surprise people the most.
And what would you say are some of your biggest fears?
Um, I actually have not really thought about that. Um,
So to buy a little bit of time here, um, so one of my biggest fears I discussed the other day, snakes. I cannot stand snakes. I was telling a story in the last interview of a time where I'd gone outside. I was eating a big bowl of cereal. You know, it was early in the morning. I was letting the dogs out, and all of a sudden I felt something go brushing across my foot because I live down here in Florida. So of course, you know, wear almost exclusively sandals and stuff like that when I go outside. And I looked down at my feet and there was nothing there. And as I'm bringing my head back up and looking out into the yard to see where the dogs are at, big black snake is just slithered on by. And
Uh,
needless to say, I let out a scream like a 5-year-old child. And the amount of cursing that was coming out of my mouth at that time was next level. Needless to say, I'm sure my neighbor was not too happy at that point, and my wife came running out of the house, and she's like, "What are you carrying on about? There's a snake! A snake just crawled across my foot!" And I'm just losing it, absolutely losing it.
yeah. So now that you say that, yeah, I would say for me it's a tie between snakes and rats. And like I can't even stand watching videos, which is why like me going to watch snakes on the plane was such a big thing because I can't even like watch a video like on YouTube or anything like that with like snakes without like just going, no, that's a nope rope. I don't like nope ropes. Sorry. I just freak out about it. But that and mice and honestly, I think a lot of it goes back to my child. So like briefly while we were so when we bought the place, it had an old so like we tore down the house that was there and we built a new house when we moved and bought the farm. So part of that though goes that we were living in briefly in one of the farm buildings. It had a livable area. But I woke up in the middle of the night and there was a big freaking rat on my bed, on sitting on top of me while I was sleeping. And mind you, I was like in third grade. And
Oof,
then
oof.
there was, and also like there was a couple of times where snakes got in that area too. And I think it just traumatized me.
Yeah, that would like I've never had a snake like in my living space kind of thing, but I'm pretty certain that if I just magically showed up, not even magically, if I just showed up dead one day, um, and it wasn't related to a, like natural causes and something like that, it would be specifically because they found a snake in the home. I would just,
Yeah.
boom, keel over right then and there, would not be able to cope, just would just lose it.
Yeah, I would just be kind of like, congratulations, you are now owner of this house. I'm gonna go burn it down.
Yes. Yep,
The
that's
LFG, I did it. he, he made a comment, said, telling me to use congratulations in the next sentence. So yeah,
yeah, no, I'm right there with you. I would set the whole building on fire and just walk away, just completely walk away. I would grab the kids, I grab the wife, grab the dogs, and just nope, throw the match and walk.
yep,
Because at that point, it would no longer feel safe. It's like there's some kind of vulnerability in this building. Gone, just gone.
yeah, yeah.
So, do you own any pets?
Uh, right now, I have a cat. I grew up a dog lover, um, but I ended up still love dogs more than cats. But right now, I have a cat, and she's very temperamental. So, I mean, she's actually almost like a dog, but she's just very demanding about her food. Is all.
Gotcha, gotcha. Yeah, no, I've had very bad experiences with cats. Growing up, I had a friend who he had like I think he had like three of them, and one of them was named Lucy. I called it Lucifer. And it deserved that name. This cat was the devil incarnate. I would just be sitting there on his couch, or we'd be hanging out on in his computer room and whatnot, and all of a sudden, just out of left field, this cat would come out and just dig right into my calf, or just jump onto my shoulder and just start going nuts. I'd come back home from his place and I'd have scratches on my leg or all that stuff, and they're like, "What happened to you?" And it's like, "Their cat."
Yeah, I actually had a lot of experiences like with that with cats like that when growing up, and for years I always considered cats evil. But then I got the cat. Actually, I picked up two. It was two cats, my brother and sister, when they were like pretty much newborns, and so I was able to train them. Yes, I trained cats to behave. um, but the yeah, it was, and ironically, hey, what's the number one reason guys get pets that maybe they're not a pet they like is because they're uh, a girl convinced them to get. Yeah, so yeah, that was the whole reason why I got cats. I kept the cats. But yeah, they're kind of they were both my kind of little babies, and like they changed my opinion on cats because like the like Rocket, which I named her Rocket when I got her, just because I was like, thinking of the raccoon from um um the movie,
Oh,
Marvel movie.
Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yes, Guardians of the Galaxy. um yeah, because yeah, she kind of looks like him a little bit. But yeah, so yeah, it's yeah, I called, yeah, Rocket, but she's yeah, she reminds me a lot of my dog I used to have, which is kind of funny. Like I'm a dog lover and I got a cat that acts like a dog.
Well, it sounds like that's probably the reason why she's, still around, kind of thing, is if she didn't have that specific personality, maybe it was not meant to be. So, who would you consider be your favorite creators outside of Farm Sim?
Outside of Farm Sim, oh, that's actually a really good question. Um, and I'm going to say, I mean, I don't actually watch a whole lot of content creators outside of Farm Sim, except for like occasional ones like, hey, how to make better videos. Like I like Nate Black, um, and a few others. But I'd probably say the one I watch the most outside of Farm Sim is probably going to be um, the Fat Electrician. I love his videos. I love his style. um, and then the other one is, and I'm totally drawing a blank. Oh man, oh, which is bugging the crap out of me. What was his name? Doggone it.
I can't
Uh,
stand it when it happens where you got the name right on the tip of your tongue, or you got whatever it is that you're trying to get out right there, but then it's just like not able to cross the finish
yeah,
line.
and he's very similar to the Fat Electrician. Um, yeah, he has like the little planes and stuff with his like with a face on it and stuff like that. I'm just drawing a blank on his name,
Hmm.
and it's gonna bug the crap out of me. It's just, yeah, I like they both are very similar style. It's like they're both like ex-military, uh, retired military that just have cover a lot of military topics that are in a very good way and like world news, but in a very comedic way. Non making fun of how the world is going.
I gotcha. Kind of bringing some levity to things.
Yeah, yeah, it's a yeah, you know,
Gotcha.
it's how I get
And
my it's how I get my real news.
and who would you consider your favorite creator inside the space of farm sim currently?
I would say my favorite content creators are um I'd say Scruff, Daggerwin, Mighty Mike, and then of course the squad of guys, RamboHacker Gaming Dad, the Herd, Auto Sim Crew, and Farm Sim Universe, and of course yourself too.
Oh well, thank you. So let's see. If you could meet any three people, either current or in history, who would they be and why?
If I could meet any three people,
Mm-hmm.
in history, why?
And again, to
Uh,
buy you a little bit of time here, the reason why I ask this question is that it oftentimes offers an insight into the people that we find value in. And like I said, it doesn't have to be like a stranger or anything. It could be like a relative. It could be like somebody that you didn't get to spend a lot of time with, in life, kind of thing. But it offers like an insight into who we find valuable.
I would say in history, um, I honestly don't. I was just trying to think because I mean, there's not really, and it's ironic. Like the names that are popped into my mind, like the first names that popped to my mind, I'm like, why would I want to meet them? It was like it's like like there's a couple people in history like I like they were just like um totally unique people in history, like Nikola Tesla, who's not a very well known person, but is a man out of time or before his time, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
With the genius he has and what he developed, it's like yeah, he was way ahead of his time. Um, it's like it'd be kind of cool, but at the same time, it's like that's not really someone I would want to meet. I just have like a mad respect for them and like always intrigued by them. Um, so I guess that could be one, but um, yeah, I mean, I really don't know because like most of the other people I would want to meet, I have met in like current times, like um it's like my favorite people to hang around, like always like want to hang around are like family and friends. So like, I love going to see my dad and um yeah, I that's pretty much about it. I mean, I can't think of anyone really in the past I'd really want to go meet.
Well, and it could be somebody in the present as well. So if
Yeah.
there's like
I
a
mean, even in the present, I mean, like I was just trying to think about that. I mean, I wouldn't mind going and meeting the CEO of the company I work for just to tell him to please quit so we can get a better CEO. But that's a
well, I tell you what, do us a favor and do not tell us where you work because I don't want this getting back to somebody. I would feel
actually, you know what?
horrible.
Actually, now that I think about it, and yeah, LFG, you know what? I would actually, I'm gonna put it up to four people. I would love to meet LFG, Herd, Auto Sim Crew, and Farm Sim Universe. I think that would be. It's like I talk with them daily, so it'd be kind of cool to actually meet them in person. So now that I think about it, yeah, that's it.
Now, see, that's a perfect example of the kind of glimpse into your world that question's intended to ask, because these are obviously people that you find of value and people that you would want to extend from a kind of you know telecommunication relationship to a actual like in person relationship. So that's absolutely perfect, perfect way to answer it. So, last question I have in this segment is, what was your first paying job?
Ooh. First paying job was a JC Penney. Do they still exist? Um, but yeah, I worked in the stock room at JC Penney in Oklahoma City. I was going to college there.
I gotcha. And yeah, like I said, that is the end of our first segment. So now I'm going to go ahead and turn it to the audience and see if we can find any questions here in chat. So give me just 1 second to hunt these down. We've
I
got.
did see while you're hunting, I did see one from Gold Gaming, and so I will answer that because he was asking for this. Um, but yeah, there you go, Gold Gaming, just for you.
Right. I'm seeing a whole bunch from LFG saying, "Is that fire real?" Let's see. Do you know how to hack?
Ah, no. For all legal intents and purposes, I do not.
Smart. Very, very smart. Oh, let's
Ralph Fanning
see.
Jonah donated
Oh,
$4.99 through Super Chat.
we got a
If you only have one mod, what would it be?
good question, Jonah. Jonah, thank you for the $4.99 super chat. Greatly appreciate it. He asked if you had only one mod, what would it be?
Oh, see, for context, Jonah, the person you're asking in FS22 averaged anywhere from 1,200 to 2,000 mods in each mod folder or each game save. So, in an FS25, I average, I think my smallest mod folder is like right now is sitting around 800 or 900 mods. Actually, I think I just bumped it up to 1,000 today. So saying one, you have no idea how hard that is. But I would say if I was limited to just one mod, in FS25, it would be Power Tools, and in FS22, I would say Easy Dev tools.
Let's see.
I would say Easy Dev in FS25, but it's not out yet, so I'm going with Power Tools.
And Power Tools is a more kind of toned down version of Easy Dev, correct?
Yeah, it's a more simplistic version of it. Yeah, it's basically like, hey, I need to spawn a bale or a pallet, or I need to add remove money, or I need to change something, or I want to go super speed or flight mode, or hey, I want to change the state of this field where starting a new save, like sometimes the crop on the farm that you start with is like, I do not want to start the game with harvesting peas or red beets. I don't have equipment for that. It's like you can go in Power Tools and like FS25 or FS22 use Easy Dev tools and just, hey, set the state of that field with 100% fertilizer, 100% lime, what crop you want in and which growth state it's at, and good to go. So that's one of the cool things that's really good for setting up your game save.
I gotcha. And we got a question from LFG Dad. LFG Dad, thank you so much for sending this in. And this is, I mean, probably the most critical question that any one person can ask a number. So brace yourself for this one. Can you show us your dance moves?
LFG, no. I was thinking like I was trying to figure out how I get so like in my videos, some of my recent videos, I have this dancing cat or dancing dog while I'm doing like the large field work of it. I put it in a time lapse and play music, and I have like a dancing animal there. I was trying to figure out how to get that to show up on here, but it's in editing, so no.
That actually was going to be one of my questions in the next segment there that's related to your channel. and I'll go ahead and just ask it right now. Why the dancing cat? Or why the dancing animals?
So it's because of LFG, actually. He made a comment in one of the videos that when I was doing that, like it's like, oh, you should be dancing with the music. And I was like, I don't dance. I'm a 6'4" big boy. We don't dance. So I was like, you know what? In fact, the first video I did, and I was like, I even said, like, when I was recording the the gameplay video part, I even made the comment of, yeah, LFG, I'm not gonna dance. But in the editing, I went back and like put on text like, but I hired a dancing cat for you. And so it was kind of started off as a joke, and it's kind of I've actually kind of enjoyed it and just kind of having fun with it.
Well, it's funny because before coming on to this show here, I obviously I do a bit of research on who I'm going to be talking to and whatnot, and I started watching some of your videos, and I obviously came very late into that particular one, and all of a sudden on the screen I see this dancing cat, and I'm like, that's going to be a question for the stream. Let's see. The Herd, thank you so much for your question. I greatly appreciate it. Says, what is your favorite series you've ever done?
Oh,
And it's actually going to be a two-parter question, so that's part one.
So I would say my favorite series I've done is a series I did not finish. Um, it just a lot of things happened. But I would say is the Cattle Baron series. It's my favorite one, and I know there's going to be another follow-up question somewhere from a couple of people, and yeah, at some point it is coming to Farm Sim 25, but it's going to be
Excellent.
probably a restart.
Excellent, excellent. And part two of the Herd's question is, what is your favorite type of series to do? Role play, let's play, lives?
So to answer that is it's a bit complicated to answer that. So, um, I love role plays, except for the amount of work you have to put into to make a role play video. Um, it can be a lot of work. Because like those like one of the like the Christmas special one I did for Cattle Baron, not this year but the year before, was probably about 40 or 50 hours of between recording and editing, everything like that, just to get that video out. So I mean, I had a lot of fun doing it, but it was a whole lot of work for a single video. So I mean, it's kind of a love-hate relationship. So I say like probably I love doing those, but I think my favorite apart from that is probably lives because I like the idea. To me, like just honestly, from a laziness perspective, lives are nice because I can just go live, not have to do any editing, and I'm just like we're just gonna go live and play the game and chat with people. I kind of like that part, and I also kind of like interacting with people. So I mean, it's kind of a tie for me between lives and role plays, which is really funny because I think most of the videos on my channel are let's play.
Well, maybe after today, we're going to start seeing a shift in the type of content that you do. Gold Gaming, thank you so much for your question. Asked, did you cry when the horse died in Red Dead 2?
That was there was a couple of spots in that game where you just like, really? And then yeah, plus the main protagonist. Well, that game's been out. I can totally spoil it because that game has been out for so many years now. But
Yes.
um, yeah, when the main protagonist dies, I mean, like, really? Ah, I'm anxiously waiting for the next Red Dead Redemption.
Oh yeah, that's such a great series. That's one that I picked it up on a whim, and it was like, oh, this could be good. Oh, hey, it's Rockstar. Oh, that obviously means it's going to be good, and it blew every expectation I had out of the water because I didn't have any like lead up to it. I didn't see any trailers or anything like that. And the moment I played Red Dead 1, I was hooked. The moment Red Dead 2 came out and I realized, wait a minute, this is a prequel, I was like, awesome. Like, really glad to see that. And yeah, it is a great, great series. Let's see. The Herd has another question. Says, who is your least favorite creator and why is it LFG?
I saw that question so long ago, and I was just like, "Yeah, that's that's a fun." You know what? It's because he likes John Deere.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's definitely worth the least favorite mark. Oh, let's see. LFG Dad says, what is a JC Penny?
Well, for you young whippersnappers, back in the day when we went to retail stores, like one of the main places you bought your clothes from was Sears and J.C. Penney. And that's back when they had like these things called malls and retail stores, like these big gigantic stores. And yeah, that was a long time ago.
So the way I would describe a JC Penney's is that it was the pre-Abercrombie and Fitch store that you'd walk into and immediately be overpowered by the scents in the air.
Yeah. Yeah, they definitely had like the perfume section was always like front and center too.
Yes, every single JC Penney I'd ever walk into, it'd be the perfume section you walk into first, and you'd always just be overwhelmed by all the different smells and fragrances that were in the air. And again, just like an Abercrombie, if you walk into any of their stores, it's immediate and overpowering. And that, let's see, that appears to be all the questions that I can see. So, oh no, wait, Gold Gaming's got one more here. It says, Rambo, what is your last meal if you had to pick one?
Ooh, the last meal question. Oh. So as LFG knows, I can be very descriptive about meals in some of my videos, because he watched. I just see the comment, no food talk. um, so yeah, that's kind of a theme of the staple of the Caliburn series. I talked about how good some of the foods are in different parts of the world, wherever that video was at. Anyways, the I would say one of my favorite things, like I do like on my kind of like special occasions a couple times a year, is there is a there's a steakhouse nearby that kind of spendy, but I go there a couple times a year. Um, so they smoke the steaks, and it's a huge ribeye. It's smoked. It's
Oh,
absolutely amazing, and it's sort of on a bed of like fried onion strings. Um, and then there's a baked potato, which is also smoked in the smoker, cooked in the smoker. It has like bacon, and it has chili and cheese and sour cream and all the stuff in it. And it has some sliced brisket in it too, shredded brisket in it too. And it's just so amazing. Um, I mean, it's like, it makes your mouth water.
oh,
Like everything is just so good there. And it's just, yeah, they have the steak nailed down. Like I've never had a steak better anywhere, which is saying a lot because I eat a lot of steak. But yeah, um, it's pretty amazing. And
it's
ironically, the guy that owns it is from the South, and he's actually related to Snoop Dogg. Just kind of a weird thing. Snoop Dogg actually helped give him the funds to open the place up.
oh wow,
But
that's
yeah,
cool.
yeah.
No, that
I
sounds amazing.
yeah, and I just made LFG leave and go to the kitchen. So
Oh, now see, so funny quick story. If I didn't start this channel, dedicated to farm sim, it was going to be a channel dedicated to cooking because I love to cook. So it's one of those that it's a conversation that I can have, ad nauseum. Uh, what about you? Do you like to cook or?
I love cooking. However, I hate doing the dishes.
Yes.
Um, which I will say a huge downside is when you love to cook and you're single, guess what? Guess who's doing the dishes?
That's when you look over at the cat and say, "Earn your keep."
Yes.
But no, yeah, I'm right there with you. It's one of those I absolutely love to cook. As a matter of fact, funny thing is, my brother-in-law who has just gotten out of the military, he just came back home two days ago. Yeah, 2 days ago, and he has already requested one of my meals that I'm quite famous for in the family. It's a copycat version of Chick-fil-A and their chicken sandwich, and that's by far and away the most requested meal that I make.
Yeah, mine's actually ham. It's like around the holidays because I make a it's particularly my glaze a bit. I mean, I throw the ham on a smoker, so it's a smoked ham, but I also so the glaze I make is a little bit spendy, so I only make it once a year because one of the ingredients I use is I I buy this well, it's a 40-year-old Scotch, Glenlivet Scotch is one of the ingredients I put in there. It just adds like a really good malty flavor to it. Um, and yeah, along with all the other ingredients, I have put some honey and some brown sugar, a little bit of mustard and some other stuff. But it's the Glenlivet 40-year-old Scotch that just puts it over the top. And
Oh,
yeah,
well, now that we've officially made everybody, including myself, mouse water, let's go ahead and move on to the second segment. This is called the meat and potatoes, emphasis on potatoes. This is where we get to know you more for your creator aspect and not so much on the personal side. So let's go ahead and start out with what I think is kind of the more obvious question. Why RamboHacker Gaming?
uh, so funny. Yeah, um, I actually do not remember the origins of that, but that's been my gamer tag since the early 90s. Um, like I've had a Hotmail address of with it. I've had my gamer tag on when Xbox came out. I mean, it was like that's always been like my gamer tag since gamer tags became a thing. Because I kind of grew up when they became like when they started becoming a thing.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's yeah, I don't really know the origin of it. It was just I think part of it was back then I did like first person shooters. So not the Ghost Recon that came out on the first Xbox, but before that, which that was an amazing game by the way. I don't know if you ever played that, but that was kind of a groundbreaking game when it came to console, along with Halo. But I loved first person shooters back in the day. It's primarily on PC. I loved the original Ghost Recon and Rainbow Six series way back then, which would have been the late '90s, early 2000s. Oh boy, I'm old. And so I was kind of like, well, I did like messing around and code and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, well, Rambo hacking and Rambo hacker. That's kind of the nearest I could figure out of it. Is that's how I got there, but I really don't know. It just kind of came to me one day, and I've had it since the '90s, and yeah, been stuck to it.
So I'm going to be honest with you. I was desperately hoping the answer was going to be, well, I'm just a big Sylvester Stallone fan. I was really hoping that was going to be the answer, but
Well, I mean, yeah, I am actually. I mean, I loved watching Rambo. In fact, totally. When you mentioned that, totally funny story, side story here is, so in our engineering department, like we're very casual at work. We're West Coast. We're casual. I mean, we have beer on tap, we have wine on tap, we have cold brew on tap, we have all this stuff, and we have everything there. But we're very casual West Coast people.
dang, are you
um,
hiring?
but so one of the things they're like is some of the engineers, like they'd set up a speaker system in one of the main engineering spaces there. And it's set up on a little network we have set up just for it, like a wireless one we can log in. And they've put tons of music on there, and everyone has, not everyone, but a lot of people who have been there for a long time have a theme song that if someone sees you walking in, they'll hop on the server, put that theme song on. So my theme song is, um, ironically, the theme song from Rocky. And their reasoning was because they know my gamer tag is RamboHacker. Well, Rambo is played by Sylvester Stallone, and Sylvester Stallone plays Rocky, so they chose the Rocky theme song instead of the Rambo theme song. They chose the engineering logic at work for you.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Oh, goodness. So over on your channel, do you produce other things besides FS content, or is it just solely farming sim?
Um, right now, if you look, it's pretty much all farm sim content. I have at times, quite a few times, diverted, and I probably will be diverting a lot on that again. Um, because yeah, I do play a lot of games. Um, the problem is like I fight myself in the knowing how the YouTube algorithm works. Is like, hey, your channel, your videos are presented to the audience that likes your videos. So when you present a video in a different genre, a different game, and those people that watch your videos don't like that game, it really hurts your channel. But I keep doing it. And I keep hurting myself. But yeah, I'm kind of planning on doing a lot more other games on there, which is why I'm thinking of probably starting another channel, which where I'll just have that focus exclusively on farming sim content. So that way I don't totally destroy, you know, the algorithm. But yeah, I have in the past, and I do plan on doing more. Like I did but this is probably controversial, but I did Star Wars Outlaws, and I absolutely loved that game. I know like no one seems to like that game, but I loved it. I had a lot of fun with it. I enjoyed it. Um, so I did like a series of lives on it, and a few other games too. I think I did some Starfield too. But yeah, so I've done a few. It's just
Okay.
I ended up a lot of times hiding those videos eventually because I reminded myself like, hey, this is hurting my channel.
I gotcha. So, how long have you been playing the Farm Sim series?
I started in Farm Sim 19. Um, so I'm trying to remember. Probably, I think it was probably. I'm trying to remember. Probably years have kind of blurred together. Especially the last 5. Yeah, it's kind of really gone pretty fast or pretty something the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Um, no, not 1809 LG. Um, I'm probably gonna say like probably 2018 was when I first started playing it, but I didn't really get into it till um Actually, yeah, it's probably 2018 when I first got into it because I played on Farm Sim 19 for just over a year pretty heavily. And actually, I could. Oh, yeah, it would have been pretty. Okay, yeah. Yeah, I definitely. It was probably 2018 or maybe 2017 now that I look at um, Farm Sim 19 because yeah, I put 3,200 hours on Farm Sim 19. So I'm going to say it was at least 2 years, maybe, yeah, probably at least 2 years. So it's probably when Farm Sim 19 first came out. I'm going to say.
Okay. And when did you start creating content for your channel?
Ah, that's I'm trying to remember because I think the herd LFG and Farm Sim Universe, I think we all started at the same time. I'm thinking was it 3 or 4 years ago. Um, I think it was 3 years ago. I'm gonna
Okay.
go with three, unless LFG or Herd or when you guys remember. We'll ignore the comment from LFG saying 1914 because I'm old, but not that old.
So, what's one thing that you never expected when you started your channel? And some examples I give are the sense of community, any unexpected backlash, things along those natures.
Um, really? I would say the thing that I didn't expect was um that people would like the videos. um Especially like in so I have actually kept all of my farming sim videos up on the channel just because like I like to see like, hey, when I first started, um I like to go back and watch those just to see like, okay, I've come a long ways from then. And I kind of look at it as it's yeah. I mean, to me, it's kind of surprising like people actually watched and like those, and even like some of the current ones. It's um, I gotta stop reading the comments from LFG. Oh man, brutal. Um, yes, I mean to me that's kind of like the biggest surprise was like, hey, people actually liked him, and I haven't had like any videos go viral, but I did have some videos, actually several videos that um had many thousands of views. I think there was a couple that had over, several that had over 10,000 views. Um and a lot of those are typically like farm build videos, which I think that's probably the one that surprised me the most is people really like the farm builds. Um And I think a lot of, and to me, I'm not sure if I'm totally off basis, but I think a lot of it is like I purposely go out of my way to like when I'm building the farm build video, I purposely go out of my way to grab very unique mods that people don't normally see out there. Um, I try to be like, hey, this is a unique build because I use a lot of like, well, actually, I have all of MA7's mods, which is like there's over 50 of them on FS25.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
it's like all their buildings and stuff like that. But I uh, I prefer, yeah, like it's that always kind of surprised me is like how well those videos do and that people really like them. And my thought is I think it's because I focus heavily on using mods that people may not be aware of or see. So, but yeah, it always kind of surprises me whenever I do a farm build and it's like they always do really, really well. I was like, okay,
So
stop doing role plays, stop doing those. I just want to do farm builds from now on.
So it's funny that you mentioned, kind of looking back at where you started, because it is funny because and I think just about every single creator goes through this, is that they start in a place, and as they progress over the years and stuff, they radically shift from where they were to where they are currently. And I know me personally, I've gone through something very similar, to where when I first started my videos, it might as well have been recorded on a potato, to where the way I did things is I recorded things on Twitch, downloaded them, and uploaded them to YouTube. And the audio was terrible because I was recording into my game controller microphone, and the video was just as bad because of the download integrity loss and all that stuff. To where now, like, the quality is better, the audio is better, and just the kind of time, and the kind of confidence that grew over the years as well. It's incredible to see where you were to where you are today. And like you said, that's the same reason why I keep all my old stuff on there, is because I like that as a kind of gentle reminder of, hey, we all start somewhere, kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, and it's kind of fun. Like when I first started, I started off doing time lapse videos, which I think is actually a great place for a lot of people to start, because it's something that you can break into, like as far as like in the process of doing a video without a lot of, especially if you're lacking in confidence, because you're not in most cases you're not talking, you're just playing the game, doing a time lapse, and you're kind of learning the things, and it's a great way to break into doing content. But I did shift at some point. Actually, it's still sitting there. I just looked over, so I still sitting at my desk. That's how long I've had this desk. Um, but this let's get it over here. Yeah, so this headset right here, when I did my first video, with talking, that was actually the headset I used. It's a Corsair, and the audio quality on that mic ain't that great. I mean, it kind of almost sounded like I was having word diarrhea coming out or something. Um, yes, LFG, I did it. But yeah, it was a very poor audio quality, and it was just kind of like picking up, a little bit here and there. And as I progressed, like, hey, like, oh, I was like, well, I can improve the graphics here, I can do this and here. And so, like, I kept upgrading my computer over time, bit by bit by bit. And I mean, like I said this before, like I have like probably close between 4 and 5 grand sunk into my computer over time. Um, just because, yeah, it's just like I kept upgrading things to try to get better quality and focused on it. But you don't have to start out with best quality. Start out with where you're at, learn the ropes, and improve as you go, and constantly improve, constantly find ways to get better. And yeah, 'cause I mean that's really what it's all about. And have fun.
Yeah, that's it exactly. It's better to start with what you have than not start at all. So yeah, no, I'm right there with you. How much would you say that your day consists of? Well, let's break this into two parts. How much would you say your day consists of playing Farming Simulator content, and then the second part is making Farming Simulator content?
Good question. I definitely played a lot more than I do for content. Um, and I actually do that purposefully. I went through a long stretch there where I was every time I sat down to play Farm Sim, I was recording. And that's actually, especially if you're getting new into content, I do not recommend that, because you're going to burn yourself out, because you're going to basically make the game a chore and make it a job, basically. Because, I mean, to be totally honest, content creation is a job. I mean, it's a hobby, it's something we do for fun, but in reality, it is a chore, it's a job. So you need to make sure. I learned this the hard way. It's like I set uh, a lot more time playing the game, just having fun and learning stuff, than I do actually making content. Um, And I would say like a lot of the content I've done lately, though, I've been focusing more on making it as let's play, which is what I've been doing a lot of let's play is just with my work schedule for the most part has been pretty crazy the last year. So I've been focusing a lot on, hey, I can do let's play and make the you know, sit down, play, have some fun, record it, and then do a little bit of editing and upload the video. So it's, I would say, in an average week, I might spend maybe 30 hours on, making content, and about probably twice that playing the game. Maybe 60 hours just playing the game, having fun. Um, I try to always double the amount of I spend on content creation, playing the game, just so I make sure I have that. I'm keeping the game fun for myself.
No, absolutely. And the one kind of running theme that I've come into when doing this show is finding, and I fall into this category as well, is that very oftentimes as a content creator, you don't get the opportunity to play the game. To where you're more concerned about, okay, well, what's the next thing I got to do? What's the next thing I got to record? So you're absolutely right in the whole, you know, being so focused on it that you're just kind of worried about the next thing. But it sounds like you purposely go out of your way to make it to where that's not the case, to where you're able to still play the game, enjoy it, and get that time. And then the creating side happens as a kind of byproduct of the enjoyment of the game itself.
Yeah, that's the goal I try to. I don't always do it, but that's the goal I try to achieve for, because I've been on the other side of that a couple of times where I didn't follow the goal, and it's only a matter of time till where I just get totally burned out from the game. I'm just like, I don't even want to play it or do anything with it. And I end up having to take a couple of weeks off from doing content just to refine the joy of the game.
So you mentioned that you started playing FS19, and it's carried on since then into 22 and into 25. Focusing on 19 and 22 specifically, because 25 doesn't have a lot of examples at the moment, but what would you say is your most favorite map, both in FS19 and FS22?
Uh, so I'm gonna be totally honest and say I actually do not remember a whole lot from 19. Because I would say by probably March after 22 came out, I had completely switched over. So 22, when it first came out, it was really bad. It was abysmal. Um, and it was pretty much, it took a long time for good mods to come out. So I stayed on 19. I went back to 19 until probably about March. And then I switched over to 22 permanently and never went back. So I kind of haven't played 19 in 3 years.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say the only map I remember I liked playing on there was No Man's Land. Um,
Great map.
yeah.
And what
Now,
about 22?
so 22 and LFG, you're gonna lose that bet. Um, so I know you're asking for one map. Um, I, I have a three to four way tie. A favorite map, and it's a tie between Valach Bosnia, which came out at the very end of 22, um, Castle New by MA7, and um, the Italia Emilia extension and Land of Italy. Um, with the honorable mention with the UMRV. Um, I would say if it was if I was narrowed down to one, I would say Castle and Lou. Um, it was, and this might, I always hate saying it, but hey, I respect all mods and like that. But one thing I will say with Castle New is, by far, hands down, that is the most gorgeous, beautiful map made in FS22. That had like it's one of those maps that had the perfect blend of artistic touch, natural feeling, and um, also while having a feeling of like you're living in the French countryside. I mean, it felt like you were there. I mean, every little small detail about it just it was an effort of love. Um, yeah, so I if I had to narrow down to one, that would be the map. I would say takes the win.
Okay. And the kind of opposite end of that question, what was your least favorite map? And if you want to focus on 22, let's focus on 22.
Least favorite. Um, I honestly don't remember them because there was a lot of maps where I just kind of loaded into it, looked around, and I was like, nope. Um, it's kind of like looking at a nope rope. I mean, so there's there's a couple of things like for me, like whenever I see maps, and this so what there's a couple of things in maps that I like. If I see this, I'm just like instantly no. And one of those is, it's nothing against mod or something like that. It's just like, hey, it's not me, not my style. It's just if I see a flat map, I'm like, nope. If I see a map that has a whole bunch of required downloads, it if it's not an absolutely beautiful map, it's a nope. So I mean, there's a couple of things, and also, and I'm this is really nitpicking here, but the map border, and there was so many maps in 22 where I mean, I went in, I looked at it, and then I always first thing I do is I always get go into flight mode, look up, and look at the map border just to see like, hey, is it lined up with the edge of the map? Because there's so many of them where I honestly don't remember the names of them because it's like I looked at it, saw it, was like, nope, not interested, and never thought about it. Which is so I can't really name a specific one. It's just and I think that's the beautiful thing about Farm Sim is you can go in, find what you like, and if you don't like it, don't play it. Like I mean, mod maps or whatever, find one that's for you and play it. And if it's not for you, don't give it a second thought. Which is honestly what I did. Like, hey, if it didn't speak to me, I didn't play it, didn't like it, and didn't download it, and never thought about it again. So I can't really name a specific one. But there was a lot of them where I just like, nope, not for me. But I know some people actually love those maps. So,
Oh, and one thing that I always try to, kind of preface this with is when I say it's the least favorite map, doesn't necessarily mean that it's a bad map.
yeah. I mean, a lot of them were great maps. It's just like they just weren't me.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Um,
and kind of a running theme that I always talk about in regards to Farm Sim is that it is the most customizable game to the individual who's playing it. If you want to play on a flat map, then there's plenty of options out there and you're going to be, more than satisfied. If you like, mountainous, hilly terrain, there's going to be a map out there for you. And not only the style in which the maps look, but the gameplay style as well. If you play ultra realistic, you can play ultra realistic. If you like fast farming and you don't care about realism, you can play that way too. It's one of the most customizable games to the individual, I think, in my opinion, bar none.
yeah, yeah, I would
And
definitely agree with that.
one of the maps that I always kind of point to when I say it's my least favorite, and it's not because it's a bad map. It's because of the huge disappointment that it led for me. It was a map called Southern Cross Station for FS22, and it was an Australian map. and it was absolutely gorgeous. And we had very few in the ways of Australian style maps, so it was one that kind of caught my interest right away. But what really kind of disappointed me with it was the fact that at certain sell points, it had that kind of clipping issue to where if you'd get behind something, the buildings and grain mills would just disappear. And I forget what it's called when that, I think it's the aliasing is when that happens.
Yeah.
But it was just a huge disappointment, and it never got updated after it got released. So it was one of the original maps that came to FS22, and it never got an update in the entire lifespan of FS22. So it was just a huge disappointment for me personally, and that's the one I always kind of refer to as my least favorite map, because it was one of those that could have been my most favorite.
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of maps like that where it's like this map has huge potential and the potential was never realized. There's a long list of maps like that too where I just like you could see the potential there. It's just it was like, well, it has this issue, and that the issue is kind of a no go for me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean, and not to, I mean, some of these I have a folder like in my browser where it's bookmarked like of I need to go up to and clean it up because it's mostly FS222 stuff. Where I go back to modders and like because a lot of modders don't even submit their maps to Giants,
Mm-hmm.
and actually some of the best modders don't, which is kind of sad because Giants is such a pain to work with, um, which is sad. But I mean, so I mean, a lot of those, like I have a bunch of those, and I have a bunch like on the Mod Hub where I bookmarked that just to like periodically go back and check and see like, hey, was there an update? Because when things were really going fast through FS22 is like if you didn't catch, there was a lot of mods coming through on some days.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So I like, hey, if I thought the map had potential, I would bookmark it in my browser. I have a folder in my bookmarks where I just put it into, and I'd periodically go back and check those and see, hey, was there an update? If there was, I'd re-download and check it out, see if it realized its potential. And if it didn't, I was like, okay, come back in another couple of months. But yeah.
So if you could pick a map from any of the FSs that you've played, and you could snap your fingers and boom, it's there for FS25, which map would it be and why?
Which map would it be? Ooh. Honestly, I'm gonna go with Castle New. I almost wanted to say Velosh Bosnia, but I didn't because I know it's coming soon. Well, coming this year. So I'm going with Castle New because I know that map is not coming to FS25. And that to me, that map, Castle New, is kind of the crown jewel of what was possible in FS22. And it's that is the map where like I have on several times thought about reinstalling FS22 just to play it because I love that map. It is not a easy map though. I will say, I'm like, it's one of those maps where you drive to, like, if you want to, like where your farm is up on the flat plateau behind the hillsides, behind the forested hillsides and rock caves and stuff like that. You can take dirt roads through the forest and over the hillside and down to the the main roads and across the river into the town where all the sell points are. But it's not a short drive from your farm to the town where everything is, which is if it feels real. So that is the one I wish would be in FS25. I keep asking the modder of that one, like, hey, I know you said you're not doing it, but I'm a huge fan of yours.
Please, please. Pretty please with sugar on top. No, there's tons of maps I can think of that if I had the ears of the map maker, I would be like, please. It'd be like the little boy. I forget the movie off the top of my head. It's like, please, sir, may I have some more?
Some more portage, sir.
So, of the maps that have been announced, well, let me ask you this first: do you follow the news for Farm Sim so you kind of know what's on the horizon?
Yeah, I do, as I try to at least.
So, of the maps that have been announced, which one are you the most excited about coming to FS25?
Um, whew, of the maps that are coming to FS that I'm most excited about. Um, I mean, their obvious one is Alma, but I've already played that one. So I'd say that excluding that one, I would say the ones I'm most excited about that I know are coming is Vlash Bosnia, um, the Machete, which is by MA7, who actually is the map maker of Castle New. Um,
Okay.
and they're the same map maker that made Pelagini, however you
Pelinier.
say that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Pelagini, yes. I struggle with that name. But yeah, that's another one of their maps too. Um, but yeah, that's a brand new map they're building from the ground up for FS25. And the other two is Carpathian Countryside.
Oh yes.
Um, and I would say the other one that I'm really excited about, which actually I sent you the video on that one, was the Utura by Enomod. Um, they which they're actually on one of the maps I mentioned. Actually, two of the maps I mentioned of my favorites from FS22 was Italia Emilia extension and Land of Italy. Those were both by Enomod.
Okay. Okay.
I think Land of Italy came to console in FS22, I think.
That's one that I'm not familiar with off the top of my head, but that's, I mean, I started uh, playing in FS19 and I started creating content very late in the FS22 realm. So it was one of those that's very possible I just kind of overlooked that one. So before FS25 released, we were starting to get that kind of drip, drip, drip of information. Oh, well, there's going to be, ground deformation. Oh, there's going to be, God rays and tornadoes and hail and, all this kind of, stuff that Giants was releasing, throughout the lead up to FS25. What was the one feature that you were the most excited about when it was being announced?
Um, I actually the one I was most excited about as their stuff was trickling out was, I mean, ground deformation was right up there, but I would say the one that really kind of grabbed my attention was um with the weather physics and also on not specifically like the tornado parts, but like the weather and also how things interact with the tractor and ground deformation. So like it's kind of like and there are actually some mods that really kind of bring this out a lot on PC, but so like, hey, how what type of tire you have, how wide is this going to determine what type of how you're going to interact with certain muddy areas.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that was something that was kind of missing in FS22 a lot. So I mean, I think that was like the I was kind of excited about. I was like, and they kind of really covered it in the what's the farm sim thing they had, farm sim show. What no, not the one at the was it in Germany this year? Um, where they kind of showed all the stuff behind the scenes stuff for FS25. I think it was in the fall.
Oh,
I don't remember. It's Giants is like they have a show every year. I cannot remember what it's called.
oh, it wasn't Llama. It was
um,
not
FarmCon. Yeah, I think it was. Was it FarmCon? No. What? It's hosted by Giants. I think, and they rotate from. I think like they had it in John Deere one year, and I think this year was it at Massey or was it no? I think it was in Fent. Fent, I remember. But anyways, but side anyways, what caught my attention there was a lot when they were meeting with the modders, talking about like, hey, how physics work and all that in FS25. A lot of the modders got really excited when they talked about how tractors and like the wheels and everything is going to interact and how they changed how tractor physics work, and with the paint and everything like that. Got a lot of modders excited, which whenever modders get excited, that gets me excited because that means it's something really important and special. And that was kind of the one and we don't really see it so much yet, but there's been a couple mods that have really kind of brought that, like the realistic weather mod really kind of showcases the whole how tires affect things. Like so when you have a blizzard and the snow gets like super deep, um tire width and tire type become really important, as well as vehicle weight. um and so like I give this example where actually I had my on Blaney, where I have my farm. I started recording a series and I haven't even done any videos on them. I've recorded videos, but I haven't edited them or done anything with them yet. But anyways, my farm is up on a hillside, and a blizzard happens, and I'm pulling out of the farm. Out of the I was going to try and run down the store and sell some, some wool from my sheep, and my truck kind of slid out of the driveway. I was like, okay, well, we're not going anywhere in the truck. Well, I got out of it, and it kept on sliding. It slid all the way down the hill, down on the road, and down into the flat area down below in the intersection by the gas station. And then it started blocking traffic because it was in the middle of the intersection. So I ran down there and it's like, okay, well, I gunned it, and just because I'm smart. I grew up in snow country. I know this. You don't gun it, but I gunned it, and it like spun out and like slid across the parking lot and down the ditch and was heading towards the river. It got stopped by a tree, but I was just like, that is awesome. Like, and it's like I've had cases like where the truck has gotten stuck in a snowbank because of how heavy it is and how small and narrow the tires are. Whereas I've had tractors get stuck too because they have more narrow tires. But like my tracked tractors, like with tracks on them or like with the big tires, they don't get stuck because of how big the tire is or the type of tire it is. It's like that is in the game physics is huge, and I see so much potential for that going forward.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I 100% agree with you there. The fact that there's more like physics based thoughts behind things, it makes a world of difference, especially for a map maker, in my opinion, because it gives them the opportunity to really kind of put in those terrains that are going to cause difficulties. There's a few maps I can think off the top of my head, but unfortunately I can't remember the names. But the fields that exist in some of the maps I'm thinking of are so sheer, so like on the mountainside kind of thing, that yeah, if you're out there, during the rainy season or anything like that, I mean, it's going to spell disaster for you in so many ways, and it just gives you that next level of, how do I tackle this as a challenge kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. Which, I mean, and you kind of saw a little bit in, well, it's not Cos anymore. Oak Ridge, like or Oxy, like around the banks of the river and in certain areas where like the ground dips down a little bit, like where water would normally, accrue. Like the mud is extra thick there in those areas, which is something that is the ability to do that. Like, hey, in this part of the map, it's going to be thicker, especially when it's raining, and around the riverbanks. Like your big heavy tractor is going to sink down and might get stuck. Um, yeah, I, it's pretty cool. I can't wait to see as more, as time progresses, like a year from now. Like there's going to be some pretty awesome stuff. That's just my take on it. It takes
Yeah.
time. Modding takes time.
Oh yeah, and one thing that I always say, and I've been experiencing it here tangentially through the show, is a lot of the mods and maps and stuff that we get are coming from people who have day jobs. They have lives outside of Farm Sim, so it's something that they do as a kind of a labor of love. So they don't get to dedicate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week to it. So the fact that we get those mods and maps and stuff like that, like you were mentioning before, from MA7 Studios, maps like Pelinier and the unfortunately I never got to play the other one because I think that's a PC Mac only version. But we get these awesome creations as a kind of I guess side hobby from a lot of creators. So it's one of those that's very interesting to kind of see what they're able to do with the limited amount of time that they have, and yeah, it's just a really cool kind of thought to kind of put out there. I was going somewhere else with it, but then I kind of lost it.
It's the Saturday before daylight savings time. You know what?
Oh no, I didn't even realize that. You just had to harsh my mellow. Oh goodness. So we kind of briefed over what kind of features you were most excited about when FS25 was kind of being announced. Now, of those features, like I said before, which ones have you kind of soured on now that we've had time to kind of play and interact and been around for a few months?
That's a good question. Honestly, I mean the one I dislike the most, and it's not because it happens, but because of how it looks, is probably the tornadoes. I love that we have tornadoes. I've been wanting that forever. Like, I'm here in the U.S. We have a thing called tornadoes. It happens a lot, especially in farmland. it's
Mm-hmm.
it's a it's a thing. I get it. The rest of the world that is not so much a thing, but in the U.S. that's a thing. Um, the thing I don't like is about it, and this is just is the way it does the crop destruction. Um, it doesn't look good. The way like it's kind of in blotches.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
I that's honestly the only thing I can really think of that I'm disappointed in. Um, because pretty much every feature of it, and it's kind of fun. Like if you had asked me back in December, I would have said the menus. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
but we're in March now, and I was just kind of funny. Actually, I made this comment, and I think it was an LFG's stream yesterday or Thursday. I don't remember when it was. But like I actually have grown to actually, I'm actually very adapted to the menus now. Where actually I like them. They like I know where everything is now, and I'm growing very used to it. So I would say like that has changed for me. That was the thing I hated when I started, but now it's actually I go to FS22. It's like I can't find anything because of the way the menus are in FS22. Because I haven't played FS22 since like November. So yeah, it's I would say like the thing that I am disappointed in is the way the tornadoes are. Um, like I think it's not just the destruction, but also like the way they like I've had tornadoes form on a clear sky. Like there's no clouds in the sky. So yeah, I mean that's the thing is like I I wish the you could do that. And I also wish like, hey, it through tractors and stuff. I mean, I had to on a live stream because I was heading towards where some tractors were, so I had to like manually use super strength and flight mode and pick up a John Deere tractor, swing it around, and fly it off to imitate it. It was actually quite fun to do because it was a John Deere tractor, and I flew like it flew, actually ended up flying like halfway across the map, so it was actually quite humorous. Uh,
I
but
I don't know. My intuition tells me that it might have been directed at somebody.
it's quite possible because I think actually it was the one that LFG it was his tractor if I remember correctly, because he was on that multiplayer for a while, a lot of it.
So it is about 2 hours into the stream. I normally try and keep it around 2 hours out of respect for the individual who's being interviewed. But I do have a couple more questions if you've got time.
Oh yeah, I'm good. It's only 8:30 here, so
Oh, well, you're lucky it's 11:30 here. But we'll keep on chugging along if that's cool with you. So, like I said, I've got about 3 more questions that I'd like to ask. First one being, as a creator, what kind of advice would you give to somebody who's looking to start in this field?
um I would say the best advice I can give I've also gotten is just start. Um but don't start with just doing what you love doing. Don't try to be someone else. Be yourself. Play the way you would play, the way you would act, because um you if you're trying to be someone else or imitate someone else or try to do something or be a gimmicky, you're gonna fail. Because you want to be yourself, you want to have fun, and don't worry about the quality of it. The main thing is just to start doing it, and then as you progress, learn and improve as you're going. Because if you wait to where you can make a good quality thing, you're going to be waiting a very long time and you'll probably never do it. So just like start, make the mistakes, let them happen, and have fun. And be yourself. I mean
That's
that's probably the advice I would give.
Yeah, and that's fantastic advice. What would you say is your most memorable moment in your content creation career so far?
Um, I would say getting monetized on YouTube, which and it's yeah. So I mean, it's I think getting the enough watch hours, enough subscribers, get that 1,000. Because I mean, there's a 500 mark, but I mean to get the 1,000 where you're fully monetized and get the watch hours, I think was like kind of like a big goal, and that was a huge one. I mean, I had other goals like getting Giants partner and all that, but I mean, yeah, the big one was the YouTube one, um, and I think the other kind of tied with that would be like that first video that gets 10,000 views, um, is also like really awesome too, which actually was a farm build.
Well, like I said, well, like you said earlier, it sounds like you might need to make a shift in the kind of content you're putting out.
Yeah.
So you made mention about a couple of map makers earlier. Well, you mentioned Celebuki, who did Lashish, as well as Alma. You also mentioned MA7 Studios. Who would you consider to be your favorite map maker?
Favorite map maker. Ooh, that's hmm.
Or here might be a better way to put it.
I mean, you actually listed my two favorite map makers. Well, I would say like I mean, I am a huge Celebuki fan. MA7. Um, and then I trying to remember the guy's name. The one that makes Carpathian Countryside, Mr.
Mr.
Hector.
Hector.
Yeah, and I just like another was Edo mod. I mean, like pretty much any map that comes from Celebuki, MA7, Edo mod, or Mr. Hector, I'm playing because I know without any doubt it's going to be an amazing map. It's like it's not a question if it's going to be amazing. It is an amazing map. So it's like when I see any map from those guys, I'm playing it. I don't care.
I'm right there with you. With the exception of the last one, who I think is a like PC Mech builder for the most part. Am I incorrect about that?
Edo mod?
Yes.
Um,
That's not a name I
ye-
recognize.
yeah, he is mostly PC. Um, but I think he has done some on MA7. I mean, some on cross-platform.
Okay. And kind of a similar question in a different vein, but who would you consider to be your favorite modder?
Um, I'm honestly, I'm gonna say MA7 or yeah. I mean, so if I look at my mob folder, so removing map makers, just like mods, I would say if you look at my map folder, I have every mod made by MA7 and every mod made by Stevie Farms and mods and Gaming Joy. So I would say like, hey, if you're removing maps from the equation, it'd be probably those three.
Okay. Yeah, and well, two out of the three I'm aware of. Obviously MA7 and Gaming Joy.
Oh,
But the
actually,
the
I'm just saying, like, I'll be right back. My cat just threw up
oh, uh-oh.
on the carpet.
Oh no.
So I'll be back in just a second.
Sure, go for it. In the meantime, I'll go ahead and just start the kind of the shout out for the channel. Uh, excuse me. uh, so as people have known, I've been starting this series for quite some time now, going on almost about 2 months now, and have interviewed well over a dozen individuals, and have been very fortunate and grateful to be able to do that. But if there are any individuals out there that you would like to see on this channel, on this show, for me to be able to do this style of interview and be able to kind of let you know a little bit more about them, who they are as a individual, go ahead and let me know in any of my socials or in the chat here. I'll do my best to go ahead and bring them onto the show and kind of introduce you all to them as well. So one of those, like I said, if there's anybody that you're interested in, just let me know, and we'll kind of, like I said, we'll do our best to bring them in. But oh, there you are. He's back.
Yep. Yeah, I was coming from the bedroom, which just had me a little bit worried. But thankfully, he was in the bathroom, so I was like, okay, I can clean that up. It's on the tile floor.
Oh, nice.
It's like whenever you hear a cat throw up in your bedroom area, you're like, is that or not be on my bed?
You never know. It's a wild card from there.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. And then I think the last question I have for you here for this segment is, if you had the ability to make a map in real life, so you had all the prerequisite knowledge, you knew all the kind of tips and tricks of map making and all that stuff, where would you make your map based off of, and why?
Um, hmm. Actually, so the answer actually this one is actually pretty easy. And I'll just a little backstory on this. So Celebuki last year, think it was about this time last year, did a survey of like, because he's planning on making a new map from scratch.
Mm.
And he surveyed his fans like, hey, where would you want to back? So the one I put in was based on a small town in Washington called Cholula, Washington. And the reason for that is that I grew up in that's where I grew up. There where I grew up at, where our farm was. And I to this day I think it actually would be the perfect area for a map, because it's basically you have the valley that runs through between it's set between, I wouldn't call them mountains, but they're definitely large hills. It's a couple hundred feet. It's more than a couple hundred feet. It's quite an elevation, but the entire thing is lined with wooded hills. Um, and in the valley, it's pretty much all farmlands. There's a couple of like farms up on the plateaus and the hillsides and stuff like that as well, but most of the entire valley is farmland. There's a couple of small towns in here. There's actually a big lumber yard in the valley. It has a train going right through the middle of the valley. There's even actually a ore mine there too. I was
Wow.
like, it's a perfect setting for a map with the stuff we have in Farming Simulator, because it has all the stuff. Like that's part of that area. It's because that area is all it's entirely built off farming, lumber, and mining. That's what's there. Um, so I mean, it's like that would be to me is a perfect setting for the map. However, I will say the winters are pretty severe. You pretty much lost your lawn in October, and you didn't see it again until March. And most years we averaged 100 inches of snow every year,
Oh
which is the
wow.
norm. So I mean, but I mean, it had a full spring, it had a full summer. It actually got hot in the summer sometimes, and we had a fall. But we had a very rough winter. I mean, it's to me it's a perfect, it'd be the perfect map for a farming simulator map, because it's like the valley floor is it's a gets a little bit narrow in some places, but overall it's pretty wide, and it's just straight up like there's a train going right through the middle of it. And then you have you know farms, you have tons of trees on the hills on the sides, both sides of it, and you got everything there you need for a farm sim map.
I gotcha. I gotcha. No, that legit sounds like a uh, perfect place for a map to be built. And you know what? If I had Silabuki's ear, I'd absolutely absolutely double that suggestion there. But like I said, I think that is the last question for this segment. So now it's time to go ahead and turn it over to the chat and see what kind of questions that they have. So let me do a quick glance here to see what we have going on.
Just an
Um,
FYI, all the questions that LFG has are from a questions you would ask your spouse or future spouse. He googled his questions.
uh-oh. Uh-oh. Let's see. Oh, well, here's one from LFG. Can you change your background to the Oval Office?
You know, I cannot change my background to the Oval Office. I can change my background though. Yeah, I can. I, Actually, I changed it just for this because I looked and I was like, oh, I had a winter one on there. So I mean, I could, very easily move out to the ocean here and I'm good to go. Or that's a lake, I guess. I moved out to the patio and now it's daytime.
Nice, nice. Let's see. Looking some more. Oh, yeah, I just saw the change there. That looks nice. It's very peaceful. Let's see. Looking some more. LFG Dad says, "What makes you truly happy?"
Yeah, I love his question right after that. Did I get these questions from great questions to ask your spouse? Yes, I did. um, what makes that's actually that's a very deep question. Wow. And I would say LFG has gone deep in thought on that one, but I know for a fact he he didn't. So, but I would, yeah. I mean, my my I'm gonna quantify happiest with most relaxed, and at peace moments are um when I'm either playing music, um or just chillaxing and um listening to music, or sometimes playing some a chill and relax game like Farming Simulator. Just kind of like the moments where I can turn the brain off and just like totally relax in the moment. I think it's like with a yeah. I'm gonna go with that definition of happy.
I gotcha. I gotcha. And then LFG Dad says, "Can you adopt me and cash flow my business?"
I can't even cash flow my own business. What are you talking about?
Oh no. So LFG asks a question for me. How close was I getting banned during this live? Well, I unfortunately cannot pay attention to the chat and do the interview at the same time, so that's why I break it into segments. So, one of those, not very close, but I don't know if you caught the wrong moderator at the wrong time, maybe. Oh goodness, but I think I'm not seeing much else here. Let's see. Nacho Cast says another question for me. How do you put up with these guys? That's a good question. I'll let you know when I have an answer.
Nacho Cast. I speak to we chat with those guys in Discord, LFG and Herd and all of them every day, and yeah. I ask that question too daily.
Oh goodness. All right, so I'm not seeing much in the way of questions beyond that, so we'll go ahead and move into our third and final segment here called That's a Silage Wrap. This is where we're going to start closing things out and give kind of our closing thoughts here. So, first off, do you have any projects or future plans for your channel?
I do. I haven't totally nailed them down in concrete yet. I would just say keep an eye out because I do have some plans, and I kind of maybe hinted at them a little bit in a couple of points there.
Okay.
But yeah, I mean, I am planning on kind of branching out into a couple of different games with like live streams and stuff like that, and just trying some variety. And I am working on some videos for a new series, but I'm waiting on a specific map to come out. So it might not that the series might not come out till later in the year, but I'm working on the pre-story build up for it. What's this say for it?
I gotcha.
It's gonna be a multi-map series.
Oh, okay. So like your story will kind of take you between separate maps. Is that what I'm understanding?
Yeah, and I mean, if Auto Cinema's crew was around, he'd probably know exactly what I'm. But yeah, it's a prequel to a series I started and never finished on a roleplay series. But yeah.
Okay. Well, excellent. That sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. Can you
Yes,
remind
totally
us where?
inspired from the Herd.
I'm sorry.
I was just replying to LFG's comment. Yeah, maybe totally inspired by the herd.
Can you remind us again where people can find you?
Yes. So, my main channel is going to be on YouTube. It's RamboHacker Gaming. I am, like I mentioned earlier, I am on Twitch. I just have not done any lives yet. I will be doing multi-streaming lives on both YouTube and Twitch here soon. I mean, I've just been having a few issues getting that set up and actually working correctly. But yeah, so it's primarily my main channel, which is gonna be RamboHacker Gaming, um, which should take you right to it on YouTube.
Excellent, excellent. Well, Rambo, I want to thank you so much for coming out tonight. I had an absolute ball with you here tonight. I don't think I've laughed this hard in a very long time. So greatly, greatly appreciate you coming out and doing the interview.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun.
Excellent, excellent. I'm glad to hear that you had fun. And I will go ahead once again and repeat for the chat there, if there's anybody that you would like to see added to the conversation here for this show, go ahead and let me know in any of my socials. I will do my best to go ahead and get a hold of them and bring them into the fold. The only thing I ask is that they have to be above the age of 18. So it's one of those where if it's within any kind of question as to whether or not they're over the age of 18 or not, I will require some kind of proof of age. So yeah, all that being said, I hope that everybody here enjoyed it. I want to thank everybody for coming out and hanging out tonight, especially the squad, as you referred to them as. It was certainly entertaining to go back and reading some of their comments, and I will absolutely be going back over the chat here afterwards. And
Especially the LFG guy.
and just catching up with the chat just to see what everyone was saying. But again, thank you all so much for coming out here tonight. Rambo, thank you so much for doing the interview. Glad to hear that you enjoyed it, and I hope that everybody else did too. And if you did, please show me by liking, sharing, subscribing, following, commenting, doing all the things the algorithms enjoy you doing. The shows you're engaged with this channel, enjoying the content. And that being said, I hope everybody has a fantastic day. Take care. Rambo, if you would hang on for just a few seconds until after the outro, I'll catch you on the other side.
All right.
All right. Take care, everyone.